Hello everyone, it's Monday on Your View. Welcome to the show. I am Obiajulo Olabisi Ugbo, and with me are the ladies.
I love
Hello.
the flow.
Thank
This is the hair for Christmas. Like, we are going to sell out this hair. Everybody just jet to hair by BC so and pick it. Man, I love it. Even though I have my natural afro, I still want this look.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
Beautiful.
So, Alahaja, how are you doing today?
Alaja is boiling.
Yes, it's so unfair that if I tell you what I go through to get to work, for somebody to cite traffic for me as a reason for me to look already and incompetent at my own, it seems the most stupid and lamest and wickedest of things to say to me. Because I know what it is to commit to something. That's my nature. I leave my kids, I drive through traffic, drive on bad roads instead of being on a good road. My car is in a state that I know what I need to do to repair it. And you come here every day, tell me, I have kids, I'm stuck in traffic. It's so unfair. I don't like how I'm looking now for the effort that I put in. I got here 7 a.m. I had no business delaying the show till now and, looking the way I look and feeling the way I feel.
Was that supposed to be your banter?
No,
it wasn't,
she's
but it's
boiling.
taking it up.
And we've already said it ahead that Nima is boiling.
How are you doing?
I'm very good. Yesterday was Wise Man's birthday. Wise Man Ezekiel, Wisdom Ezekiel, clocked 40 yesterday. I was there with my husband. I dragged Mr. Mark out for a party. He usually goes to his own party and I go to my own party, but we were together and I really enjoyed seeing all my industry, real estate people there. It's just celebrating life, and amazing. I feel very blessed to be here.
Amazing. Yeah, we don't have, I'm all right. I worked all through the weekend from writing exams to teaching classes. We had evolved to become more virtual. Yes, and I was taking classes back to back. I had my mentorship class Saturday evening as well. I've not had me, I'm feeling somehow on the inside. But after the show, I'm just going home to attend to my darling husband. I'm sorry I didn't have your time this weekend. I'll see you at home after the show. So
today is the symposium, the celebration symposium.
Yes, it is.
I was supposed to be my banter. We'll go there.
Let's take a short break. When we come back, we'll take the newspaper reviews. Stay with us.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Welcome back. So let's start with the nation. Rising deficit, low revenue raise concerns over 2023 budget. Floods wash away $15 million rice farm. Communities submerge. Unions settle for battle over plan to privatize. TCN by government. Why 30% of prison inmates should be freed by Aregbesola. Price crisis worsen inflation. Rate soars to 21%. South-South, Southeast APC joggers from Bayelsa to Lagos hit Ondo. Wike, Makinde, autumn to shun Atiku campaign launch. You can't intimidate me, Benue governor tells Ayu. Party chair not neutral. Lagos rises for Tinubu, Shetima, Sanwo-Olu. Buhari to attend Debi's inauguration as transition president in Chad. What stories do we have in the nation?
Okay, so the picture story in the nation. So yesterday, the chairperson, Lagos Parks and Garages Management. Musli Akisoya, that's popularly known as MC Oluomo, led a 5 million march for the APC presidential candidate and all candidates within Lagos, as well as the presidential candidate in the country. All candidates running for several offices to raise awareness, and in attendance was, a lot of actors, actresses. They took the Teslim Balogun Stadium and walked all the way in Lagos. It was massive yesterday, and I hope that, other rallies and works like that will be as peaceful as I saw it online, as well as covered by the nation, but it was so massive. That's it, that's the story.
I sense a hope in the democracy that we can all come out. You just choose who you want to vote for.
Yes,
go out peacefully.
Increase participation, because there's all sides are raising numbers, and that would mean we have less voter apathy. And the last result was huge voter.
Yes, we have 80 million voters registered. PVCs collected as well, according to NAFDAC. So we have 80 million guaranteed votes that we're looking at this.
And we hope to get at least 50%
some people
show
haven't
up.
collected their PVCs yet.
Yes. So I want to take the story of price increase. Price increase is going to worsen. Predictions, according to financial and economic experts, are saying that from Bismarck Rowan of financial derivatives company to Cordon Capital, also saying that based on the current inflation rate, which is 20.5%, 20.52%, which is the highest inflation we've had in 17 years, it is still going to go up. Prediction is that basic cost of food items are getting more and more beyond the reach of average Nigerians, and that it's about to get worse. According to their prediction, consumer price index, which is the one that influences the cost of everyday expense, is even going to rise by 66 basis points and will be having prices of over 21% inflation on those basic food items. Now, when I read this from experts, I'm wondering, what is our government going to do? We're still creating a budget that we're borrowing against. It doesn't look
Is there a plan
like
to take us out of this? And, you know, Christmas is coming now.
So I have the story of the flood. So $15 million worth of rice washed away, according to this story. This story takes a complete look at all the areas flood affected. It said that areas like Delta, Imo, Bayelsa, Rivers, Kogi, and farms due to the dam opening, the Lagdo Dam in Cameroon, there was flood in these areas, and I got videos from Isako Central in my own area where I'm from in Edo. It was bad. Houses buried, two-story buildings buried in water. Whoa. And we also farm rice in that area, and so flood affected. But this report in The Nation talked about farms, Olam rice farmland in Rukubi Doma local government area of Nasarawa State lost over 4,500 hectares of rice farm. $15 million worth of rice washed away. Oh, that's not only the amount they washed away, infrastructure like dikes, canals, things worth $8 million. The losses suffered across board. The story also carried that Peter Obi has reached out to commensurate with people who've lost their livelihoods and lives at in the flood in Imo. 17 Imo communities were, displaced. 3,000 people displaced. 17 Imo communities, sacked by the floods as well. Yobe also, NEMA has their account of it. In Delta states, 5 local governments affected by the flood. This is nationwide. This is a national emergency. I'm here to hear the Minister for Agriculture talk about what is happening. I'm here to hear the President issue an immediate, because this is like insecurity.
To prevent crisis. Because
there's
certainly, and this is rice shortage.
As we see now, we're selling rice at 30,000 naira, 50 kg bags for local rice.
I bought for 40.
I said 30, sorry, 38,000 naira, 50 kg bags of local rice now as we speak now. So imagine what it will be, because farmers have lost livelihoods and what things are going to be. There's no party.
Okay, let's move on now to the Punch. Federal government borrowed 22 trillion. Foreign education gulped $609 million. CBN. Muslim. Aggrieved APC Christians to dump Tinubu. Shetima. Controversy surrounds alleged release of 101 Boko Haram terrorists. Presidency. Atiku governors. Ayu begin campaign in Uyo. Forex scarcity hits gas suppliers. Price hike imminent. Dangote. Shareholders knock Kogi. Group alleges exploitation. Federal government plans 1.35 trillion war chest against Boko Haram and bandits. To acquire fighter jets, ammunition. Budgets 1 billion for terrorist prosecution. IG embarks on road patrol in northern states. Promises adequate security. NDLEA seizes 1 billion tramadol at Lagos Airport. Hoodlums rape Kwara Varsity students arrested with 87 phones. Internet fraudsters contact Facebook herbalist dismember man for ritual. What stories do we have in the Punch?
Okay, let me take Dangote quickly. So, Kogi State government, as we know, over the past week, shut down Dangote cement in Obajana, and they're claiming ownership.
Impact.
they are claiming ownership of that infrastructure or the investment there. They're saying that Dangote should come forward with his papers. I expect that by now Dangote should have gone to court.
Presented the papers.
But he hasn't gone to court, you know, to forestall any of the harassment they're claiming.
Gone to court, he should present the papers first now.
To who now? He goes to court and establish and
but
court,
it's the state that is asking him to
it's the court that he will use to...
Well, even if he was going to present it to the state, by now he should have gone to court. First of all, get an injunction to stop the abuses by the office.
Yeah.
But the president of the Association for the Advancement of the Rights of Shareholders and some other, I think NANS as well, are, you know, against the government, saying that, you know, according to the spokesperson for the Shareholders Association, Dr. Umar Farouk, he says that the government cannot create employment opportunities and economic empowerment for the local community in Obajana, yet they went to shut down such an investment. And I'm wondering,
is creating employment for them.
if Dangote legitimately bought that investment, we don't have any issues. So let's not join issues here. He's an investor. He has a property, a business there. By now, he should be in court. Let's not drop the issue.
Sentiment.
I am even amazed.
Are you sure he's not in court, though?
I hope so. I've not heard any of that. I'm amazed that the government is just shutting down that.
That exactly.
So it shows witch hunting.
They may have just been...
They have legitimate grounds.
It's possible that you just realize you're checking your books, it's time to sign out, and then you wake up.
Now when you want to sign out,
And now when you want to sign out,
which...
Yeah. Let's take a short break. When we come back, the newspaper reviews continue. Stay with us.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us.
So I need to take this economy, the economy, oh my goodness. As in, so there is likely going to be, due to the Forex scarcity, all of us know Forex is not available, there's going to be price increase in gas. We misplaced priority case again. According to the National Operations Controller of the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, that's IPMAN, Mike Osatuyi, he chatted with, had a chat with Punch yesterday, and he explained why gas prices will go up. That the people that are buying gas into this country are buying dollar at the local black market rate. So he said about a month ago, it took 11 million naira to buy 20,000 metric tons of gas. But that same 20 metric tons now cost 12.3 million naira.
So they buy it at the black market, and it's more expensive, right?
More expensive.
So why isn't the CBN giving an opportunity for them to buy?
That are going to school abroad.
Oh, you see the problem?
Dollar is going to school for those that are abroad, but we are not.
We're not giving to our local businessmen to grow our economy. You see the problem?
So rice is going to be expensive.
Gas is expensive. Not going to be top. I bought rice 40,000 naira last week.
You never buy gas.
I never buy
Never buy gas. Gas, I buy 10,000.
I never buy rice.
My
rice has finished. I need to buy rice.
I didn't know why they were rushing my rice. I didn't know that prices had gone up.
We will eat yam this Christmas. People should get ready. We'll eat yam, we'll boil it, we'll roast it, we'll fry.
So the economy, we need to sit up. So part of the story also meant that there's a feed gas constraints and high maintenance activity are part of the causes as well. So, the expert also cited that NLNG 6-train Bonny plant had dropped to 16.8 million tons in 2021 from 20 million tons. So the production is dropping because of course, we know bunkery, as well as demand that is increasing and Forex is scarce.
Just a painful
here we
story. So police operatives from the Kwara State Command on Sunday said they arrested 3 suspects who allegedly robbed and raped some female students of the Kwara State University, Malete, in the Moro local government area of Kwara State. So the suspects are Ridwan Abdul Fatai, Ibrahim Akorode, 25. Ridwan is 20 years old. Aliyu Apalado, 25. All from Oke, former area in Ilorin. And they got some of the students, female students, complained to the police that they had robbers come into their hostel, raped them, and carted away with their properties. And so the police carried out an investigation, clamped down on the robbers. They arrested 1, 2 of them escaped, and with investigation, they were able to get the remaining 2. And they recovered a lot of things. They had 19 iPhones, 6 handsets, 3 iPhone 11, 16 iPhone 6 Plus plus 5 iPhone XR and other telephone handsets, altogether totaling 87 handsets, 10 laptops, 2 television sets were recovered, amongst other things. Let's quickly move on to the Sun. Clergy's wife, 2 children, 2 sisters found dead in Enugu. Gridlock as Lagos NURTW rallies for Tinubu. 2023 presidency, Dogara, Babache. Muslim leaders adopt consensus candidates. NDLEA intercepts 2.4 million tramadol at Lagos airport. NAFDAC warns against 4 deadly cough syrups in circulation. Gunmen kill DSP, inspector, community leader, 9 others in Plateau, Imo, Enugu. Abduct 4 farmers in Oyo Farm settlement. Abia to relocate phone dealers to new markets in January. APC to release amended campaign council list this week. Kogi students, Dangote shareholders differ on developments at Obajana Cement Factory. What stories do we have in the Sun?
NAFDAC.
Okay.
So NAFDAC has raised the alarm over this 4 cough syrup named as promethazine oral solution, Cofex Malin baby cough syrup, Mac Cough baby cough syrup, and Maghrib and cold syrup. NAFDAC is warning us that 63 children have so far died following the use of the 4 substandard cough syrups as reported by the WHO. And this happened, you know, of course, the one that is circulating in Gambia, with the possibility of finding its way here. They're warning us to, as parents, to stay off it. I heard someone criticize
Even the importers.
NAFDAC and saying, is it just warning? They should already be at the border stemming importation of,
yes.
you know, but we know sometimes
they'll bring it
they
in.
traffic these things. So now that you know, they have told you the name of the drugs, we check. In fact, these cough syrups were made in India. Personally, stay off India produced drugs for now.
For now.
Because they
Which
should
one
have
do
been
you buy,
regulated
America?
in India.
Which one do you now buy?
If
India
you reach
drugs
too
are
much,
cheaper.
a cough is a viral infection. Give
Take
it some
ginger.
time. And give your children a lot of water.
Ginger, garlic.
If you don't even want to let follow us to buy ginger, we
But
don't
I was when I read the story,
Stay
I was
off it
thinking,
and
so this can happen in a place like Gambia. Is it that their NAFDAC there did not check? Because they're supposed to check before it's released.
Into the...
No,
into
let's
the
even blame
society.
India, where the production happened. That was what Dora Akuyili did. She went to the source.
Yes,
From
and
the source,
dealt with them.
your regulation should have made sure that there are no such substandard factories producing medicine for anybody in the world. Sure. Instead of even importing it out, and we're talking about NAFDAC here, you shall go. When you get to pharmacy, make sure it's a registered pharmacy you're buying from.
Okay.
Exactly.
So,
That's
go
another
ahead.
place to get it. So, really sad story happened in Imo State. A deputy, a DSP, and inspector attached to Umunna Divisional Police Headquarters in Umunna Divisional Police Headquarters in Imo State was killed by gunmen. It was learned that the deceased police officer was on a stop and search in front of the divisional headquarters, right in front of his office, and was gunned down by men that were wearing military uniform. They were operating in a black Hilux vehicle, and they immediately sped off. It was also gathered that the incident had caused pandemonium in the locality as other motorists abandoned their own vehicles, trying to get safety. People were saying that the police officer blocked the road in stop and search, but the Hilux, there were unknown people in the Hilux van, about 5 of them in military uniform, but they were not actually soldiers, but were bandits. They now opened fire on the police officers. He also added it generally caused a lot of challenge within the area. I'm really worried because now you're looking at if you're looking at someone wearing a military camouflage, you should
not
be
sure.
safe.
Yeah.
You know, but now you're worried.
You don't know if he's an armed robber, you don't know anything. So Abia State government has directed dealers on telephone and its accessories to relocate to the newly built GSM market at Eche Road, Aba, from January 1, 2023. According to the Commissioner for Trade and Investment, John Oki Kalu, he disclosed this during a meeting with the telephone dealers in Aba, explaining that the new market's work has been 90% completed, so they should get ready to move. Then he also said they have a rehabilitated Ngwa Road, which leads to the new markets, and work will still soon commence on other links to the market route so that it makes easy for, you know, commuters who are going there. Then he gave a warning. He said that they will no longer tolerate the conversion of residential buildings along St. Michael's Hospital, Pound Park, and Jubilee Roads into shops by telephone dealers. The plan basically is to ensure that they have specified specific markets for some products. So, you know, this is GSM village, this is another village and all that. And the government is trying to do that for them. So let's move on to the Vanguard. Omehia, Wike displaying punitive arrogance. All theft. 42 more tapping points uncovered in Delta by Elsa. 400 billion goods rot away over demurrage, shipping costs. I hope somebody has a story. We've taken NAFDAC. I was a victim of corruption fighting back. Mago, ex-EFCC chairman. PDP crisis. Atiku has moved on without Wike. Others. PCC source. Government attack police station, kill cops. Others in Enugu. Osun police nabbed 2 suspected Yahoo boys for kidnapping and killing 40-year-old man for money ritual. MC Oluomo shuts down Lagos for Tinubu. Shetima, Sanwo-Olu with 5 million man solidarity work. What stories do we have in the Vanguard?
The twist in the Rivers State, the listing of a former governor as former governor. Tonyeko, the governorship candidate, gubernatorial candidate of the APC, has, you know, called out the governor of Rivers State, Governor Wike. His campaign team and spokesperson, Mr. Shogbeye Eli, chided the governor on his recent what he calls his recent macabre dance and also his rubber stamp House of Assembly, delisting Celestine Omeya as former governor. They said that, yes, Omeya had lost at the High Court, at the Supreme Court to Amechi, and Amechi, throughout his 8 years, did not recognize Omeya as a governor, never paid him any amount of money. But Wike, within a month of taking over office, decided that Omeya was due to be recognized as former governor.
He's the one that paid.
He's the one that recognized him. And now that things are falling apart for them, he decided to use the same rubber stamp House of Assembly. This is so ridiculous and annoying to be the same one who now recognized Omeya and then said, you know, unrecognized him and asked him to pay back what he's been so entitled. And all this while when Amechi was governor, Omeya took his loss jejeje and went to rest. But you brought him the honor and then dehonored him as well. Again, so and he's also referred to Wike passing what he calls an executive order 21, which restricts the use of public schools for campaigns, saying that he will not be cornered by Wike and his high-handedness.
No so permanent friends, no permanent enemies in politics.
Yes.
Go ahead, Tommy.
Major headline. So this report was done by Vanguard. They learned that over 7,000 containers have been abandoned at the ports. The total value of the goods abandoned there is worth 400 billion naira. And the reason for this is the difficulty in clearing the manual process with which Nigerian Customs Service use in checking the vehicle. They said manual cargo inspection by the Nigerian Customs Service and the rising cost of clearing associated with corruption and the exchange rates volatility are the main things that have caused this. So every day you're paying an approximate 20,000 naira per day for containers, while that's from the shipping company, while the direct charge from terminal operator is 12,000 naira. So there's difference of about 8,000 naira, and each day is accumulating. They said the total of 60 billion demurrage has accumulated on some of these goods. Some of them have expired. Some of them, some people cannot even, the goods are no longer relevant. And you have 7,000 containers sitting down, 2,000 trying to come in, and because of the 7,000, there'll be delay in processing the 2,000, which will then bring about another set of demurrage, adding to what is piled up. No country can rise if the process of bringing goods in and out of your country is difficult.
Yeah.
We cannot rise above our... How do we get the dollars? By exporting. How do we get goods to please our country? By importing. If we don't sort out shipping, there's still major crisis going on in the country. Yeah, I don't think we have time to take any more story, but this story caught my attention in The Guardian. Why over 50 million Nigerians are mentally ill by psychiatrists. So they said today is World Mental Health Day, and psychiatrists have raised the alarm that 1 in 4 Nigerians, that is over 50 million Nigerians, are suffering from one mental disorder or the other. It's all over the world. Also, there are about 75% of those who need mental health care, they don't have access to it. And Nigeria has 300 psychiatrists to treat about 200 million people. And Africa has 1 psychiatrist for every 500,000 inhabitants, which is 100 times less than what the World Health Organization has recommended. Our pastors are also psychologists. No, they are not psychologists. So I don't know how we're going to solve this issue. Are we going to get more people into schools and,
force them to study psychology so that they can better
we have
help
a lot of
other
life
people.
coaches who are
We
learning
do, but
this
people still don't
certification.
understand the need to approach them for
the
your
pursuit of each person's happiness that this madness comes. They should just make this country worth living.
Abi.
All this Oyibo, this big English.
But you people too
See
commit
what
all
we
those
sit
things
through
now.
traffic coming to work. If you reach there, you go down the Colossus.
It's enough to depress somebody, honestly. Thank you so
So
much,
sad.
ladies. Let's take a short break. When we come back, we move on to our hot topics for today. Stay with us.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. The Minister of Interior, Rauf Aregbesola, says he will meet with state governors to agree on the mass release of at least 30% of inmates from custodial centers across the country. According to him, over 70% of the 75,635 inmates at present were awaiting trial, and the federal offenders in the system were far less than 10%. Adding that the bulk of people in custody were those who have run foul of the state laws. What are your thoughts on this? You can join the conversation and call us on 081-270-53687 or 091-390-76948. I also know, like I took it in the papers this morning, but I didn't have time to go through it, that there are 3 new centers projected to accommodate about 9,000 inmates that are currently being worked on in Kano and River States, as well as Abuja. But is that the crux of the matter? The fact that we have a lot of people who are in these custodial centers awaiting trial for a case. If they had gone to trial in 6 months, they would have finished their jail term and left. You have people who are waiting trials for 10 years, 15 years. But what are your thoughts on this?
I mean, you know, a lot of what is wrong with our system, a lot of the issues we are having with our system is largely misplaced priority. It's a case of we're not dealing with the real issues. For the clogged, overburdened prison system, the real issue is judiciary. And the judiciary strengthens many other systems. It strengthens the police, it strengthens NDLEA, it strengthens the EFCC. If we can focus on the real issue, not misplacing our priorities, not trying to say, let me do the barest minimum so that it will look like I'm doing something, we would be solving more problems. So if we can deal with judiciary, if we can speed up the time that is being spent per case, we would be able to deal with the real criminals and not just clog our prisons with people who are waiting trials, people who stole a phone, people who stole meat in the market, people who are being bullied by their more powerful counterparts and colleagues. Some people are in prison simply because somebody has said, I will put you in prison.
Yeah, I'll deal with
you.
you.
And they are there. So, and we cannot be fighting criminality and seem to be petting criminality at the same time. You cannot be releasing, under whatever guise, some set of criminals when we still have to deal. And I know it's carrot and stick approach, but I don't think this is a step in the right direction, not at this time. I believe that what should be done, if your plan is to decongest the prisons, if your plan is to deal with the situation, maybe there are issues in the prison that they know more than we know, and they cannot share with us because of the confidentiality of the situation.
Issues, yeah.
But we know, Nima said it several times, that people in prison, that private lawyers have to go in to help them to get them out on technicalities. Because they did not have a case against them in the first place. So those are the things that we should be dealing with first before we now talk about what is going on right now.
But the process in dealing with it, that's where the matter is now. Some cases will last for as long as. Some cases are awaiting trial. They've not been assigned any form of, let's go and represent you in court. I don't even know if we have, the public system, we have a lot of lawyers who are supposed to be representing the people. Just give us that insight.
The crux of the issue is investigation. Most of the times, when a police officer arrests and tries to detain a person for too long, you ask that charge to court. If police officers are doing their jobs, most cases will not even have to be charged. Some Sokpet cited the case of somebody stole meat in the market. But the person that stole million will be allowed to go. The person that stole meat will be awaiting trial because he cannot even afford a lawyer. So at investigation cases, let's stop hating on ourselves. That's number one. Number two, the judiciary cannot do more than it is empowered to do. What has the executive empowered it to do? How many courts? In Lagos, we can boast of courts. In Ogun State, there are new courts. In fact, Ogun State just opened a new court in Igbesa, where I'm now directing some of my cases to that are you know, of federal nature. So we're able to enjoy it. But if the cases are jurisdictional such that I cannot move beyond Lagos, I will stay. And the Lagos courts, the population of Lagos, the issues are congested. If you look at some states, they don't even have new courts. Lagos is even responding to having special courts for sexual offenses, you know, creating. But how many would they do? So there are other methods of decongesting court systems that happen where the chief judge of each state goes in. I know that of Lagos have you know, been able to benefit 2 criminal cases where she went in and just looked into the technicalities of some cases and just decided to free some of those inmates because they don't have substantial cases against them. So she can have that opportunity where she looks into the files of the cases of people presently being held in court. No, it's a he now. The chief judge of Lagos is a he. So then it was a she, and you know, she could look into the cases and then they do those pardons and powers. She's empowered to free such inmates. But across Nigeria, our custodial centers are overstretched.
Yes, now.
A custodial center that cannot hold more than 700 people is holding over 70,000 people or 7,000 people per time. So you have that issue of, can the governors do something about it? Number one, can the governors sign
death warrants?
No governor.
They don't like to,
So you don't sign it, then you don't look, you don't have a system to deal with the stretching of the system of the prisons. You're not building new facilities. You are not doing anything. You're just leaving the system to run on autopilots. No, you cannot.
But Nima, those people on life sentence, are they the they are not that much. I wouldn't say they are much.
They're not the critical mass.
They're not the critical mass in the prison.
Well, they're not, but they also benefit from not just the funds for the custodial system. Because if a person is held for life, he said when he's been sentenced to death, he's exhausted his appeals. It's just, somebody just say, okay, he will not die, he will just remain there.
And it's costing us money to take care of him.
On court money. It's either you look into his case, you give him a period of time where you think he is due for pardon, you pardon him if you must. If you will not, you sign the death warrant. Let the system run institutional-wise, let it run. And then the judiciary, can you employ more judges? The judges will have to adjourn. They will have to hold.
Take breaks.
They cannot come and kill themselves. That kind of thing. So when you have cases, sometimes we'll be in court. Presently, I don't even like going to the courts anymore. Sometimes you wait, and if, God forbid, your case is called last, you wait the entire day.
Wow.
You cannot run out and say you are going somewhere.
Because you don't know if they will call you.
You don't know if they'll call you. So the judges who are now sitting there all day, do you think they are finding it funny if you that you are on the bench you are complaining? So they have to, and they also have to, some courts still have to handwrite their hearings and judgments. Why don't we have a more improved system like we have abroad, where the judge is enjoying listening and can refer to recorded hearings later? So there's so many things that they must do to improve the system wholesomely. But in the meantime, can we just listen to what the minister is saying and have a method where they go in?
You agree with him? You agree with the minister?
Of course,
that's
totally.
amazing. But before I come to you, Tokwe, I'm sorry I have to take you guys back to American movies, where I know that they have state lawyers who would defend the common man. So instead of your case thrown out or you are awaiting trial for a long time, the state pays them to advocate for the common people. We don't have that here.
We do. We have legal.
Are they working?
Of course they are. And they're working the same style as the American. You know that
because what I see is that people don't have money to.
American movie too.
No,
and the lawyers who are not interested in your case. They're not interested in your case. So if you, God forbid, you get the one that is it will help you quash it, pata, you just go to jail. So for you to find a lawyer that is interested in your case,
are they not supposed to be interested in your case? I'm talking about the state lawyers
employed now.
So they should pick up cases.
They have a duty. They are paid salary to come and exercise. They're not interested in your case. I'm trying to explain.
But that's wrong.
They don't have a personal. No, it's not wrong.
And they don't have a time.
It
They also
cannot
have
be
huge case
controlled.
files.
They have
They also
loads
have
of
huge
such
case file.
free legal aid they have to give because the state is paying them. So they are not particularly interested. But if you were paying a lawyer, the lawyer will be fully interested.
See, when we come back from this break, we're going to talk about why they are not particularly interested in some cases. Because no, you will tell us so. Because it's your jurisdiction.
That's why I went there.
It is your jurisdiction. Let's take a short break. When we come back, we continue these conversations and probably take phone calls and messages. Stay with us.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Welcome back. So we are still looking at this issue of releasing a lot of inmates to free up space in our custodial centers. And Tokwe had a comment.
So, like most Nigerians that have been betrayed by this system for a very long time, our first reaction to every report from the government is to doubt, is to disbelieve.
The intention.
Is to believe that there's something fishy going on there because of the past experiences we've had. But imagine if I decide to approach this report from our Minister for Interior from the perspective that here is a very sincere, hardworking Minister of Interior who is looking at the situation and is diligently trying to find a way to decongest the prison. Then I would assume that Minister Aregbesola has created a checklist of what are the of metrics to measure the people who are in prison but shouldn't be in prison. And we are only truly keeping real criminals there. Maybe also I would want to assume that the minister, in case he doesn't have it already now, would have a list of trainings and psychotherapy session that will help those that have spent minimum of 3 to 6 months in the prison to reform before they come out. See, this is not normal just talking to a psychiatrist. BC and I we've done NLP, we're coaches. There are things you can do to a human being that will help reset their brain. And we must be open to those resets that psychiatrists and psychologists have done. And we must bring them into the system. Yes. So that if I'm going to release you, you must have done 10 sessions with this therapist. This psychiatrist has done 10 sessions with you and certify that you are okay to add value to the society, that the prison hasn't made you worse than you know. So those are little checklists that I would expect. So when I read the report, and I am not the typical Nigerian that feels everything the government is about to say is just, there's a lie there, I would be willing to ask questions like, okay, what is the checklist you're using to verify who you're going to be releasing? What are they people that there was no case against them or they are awaiting trial for so long and based on internal investigation? Are you getting lawyers? There are many student lawyers or fresh graduate lawyers who just finished their law school who will be willing to do pro bono cases to help reduce the time that these people are spending. Are you considering that, making it easy? There are many things that Nigerians want to do to help the government if the government is willing. And I think that it's very important that Nigerians also don't put on your cap of, this is government, they are not serious, they are not ready, they are just going to fight for their own pockets. Let us be willing to dialogue with the government and just receive the information based on what you are reading, not with the coloration of past experiences, which is what we tend to do. You know.
If we talk about what you just talked about, which is reformation and all of that, you will see funding at the bottom.
Hey, everything is about
Just
funding.
last month, the minister himself was asking for funding for completion of 3 of their new facilities, and he was wishing that out of the 6, those 3 was at least completed before he answered.
Nima, I wouldn't want you to lose your thoughts. Let's take this call from Benin. Good morning.
This is Ambi calling from Benin.
Good morning, Andy. How you doing? Ambi, how you doing today?
I'm very fine. I'm very fine. Thank you.
Go ahead with your contribution.
Just to quickly say that since 1999, only one governor has signed the death sentence, really, for inmates. We don't know why they are reluctant to do so. But we know that
it's not easy.
Lawyers clamor that that's not a good deterrent against criminal offenses, really. But going to the next issue of decongesting the prisons. And now I want to just quickly say that during the coronavirus outbreak, you know, there was an executive order to try to decongest
The prisons.
to see people where medical practitioners were asked to go to the correctional centers. Then you see people who, on health grounds, they were allowed to go. But let me quickly say that we don't notice today the statistics of people who benefited from such. There is no systemic way to determine some of these things.
Yeah.
I heard one of your resource persons there talking about psychotherapy or psychiatric services for some of the inmates. Really and truly, that is necessary. But I want to ask you, how many psychiatrists or clinical psychologists are in the service of the Nigerian Correctional Service? I doubt if there's any psychiatrists in their employment. So the people who are there, how many are medical consultants? They are probably just medical officers, and you cannot give what you don't have. So it's a very serious, the burden is huge. I want to thank you for raising this issue. Because
Thank you,
some of our
Ambi.
people go there for minor.
Thank you so much, Ambi. We've heard from, yes.
So, like I was talking about, funding is at the crux of all of these issues that they're having. The minister had asked for funding to complete 3 out of the 6 currently being built new facilities across the country. And he was praying in that report last week that he gets 3 of it at least developed, completed before he leaves office. Also, the House of Reps had a public hearing for a bill called the Nigerian Correctional Service Trust Fund. And this bill is supposed to create a trust fund that can help raise funds towards this. Aside that, NGOs are the major funders of the prisons. You were talking about lawyers. Young lawyers through the NYSC join a committee called Legal Aid. They go to the prisons to earn their skills, giving free legal services. But you know, as soon as NYSC is over, only a few of them stay on. I have a few friends who have recently relocated to the UK.
I was in that batch in my
were
NYSC.
completely committed to that. Even after NYSC, they stayed on and continued free legal aid. They presently left the country now, so you can imagine. Was it the PRI? Is headed by a friend as well, Adetola Kazim, constantly going to the prison to do that. So the cause behind the prison decongestion and a lot of fund help with the prison, you have NGOs behind this. Can we continue to encourage them rather than stifle them and make this place hard where somebody then thinks, okay, let me just relocate my family abroad and drop that's what he calls.
Yeah, let's take this call from London. Good morning. Tonya from London, good morning.
Hello.
Or is it London? Good morning.
Hi. Yes. How are you guys doing?
We're doing amazing. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm very well. I was just listening to what you guys were saying, and I agree that I think that more funding should probably be available, because if it's not on the, lawyer's mind that they're getting paid well, they may not be interested in representing the case, which I obviously don't think is correct.
Okay, I hear you.
But it's like, if you don't have the money, you can't afford the representation, then you're not going to get maybe the best care. And I feel like it's not correct, it's not fair if you don't have the money to represent yourself.
Thank you so much, Tonya.
Okay, so I wanted to say talking about the right representation. So I think she's referring to the legal
what you were saying.
Talking about people lawyers not necessarily being interested in public
The
service,
cases.
the cases they are assigned.
So there was a question. There was a question of, do we have enough psychiatrists? Every coach has to do compulsory number of hours.
Yeah.
And that can be an hour
Free.
given
to them. Yeah.
And they would listen to your problem because it is compulsory. Every psychiatrist has, they look for many coaches, and there are several coaches that will be willing to, because it's part of your CV.
Yeah,
I volunteered
it helps build
20
a skill.
hours in 20 or 40 hours or 100 hours in a year to the prison reform. Nigerians are willing to help Nigeria. As much as we think people are checking out, how many people are checking out? The people that have relocated, did they reach 10,000? It's impossible.
It's even expensive.
The majority of Nigerians are here, and we want to make Nigeria work.
Let me pause you. I'll come back to you, Tokwe. We have Dr. Abubakar. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Not Dr. My name is Abubakar.
Abubakar.
From Okene, Kogi State.
Okay. You're welcome, sir. Good morning.
Yes, the quite agreed to release some of the inmates to decongest the prison facility. But what are the criteria they're supposed to use?
You have to be very careful. Because now, for me, for my own suggestion, anyone they're going to get, they have to take time off. They have to involve DSS and people to go and check the family background of some of the first inmates. What has been his behavior among his family or the area he is. So if he goes back to the society, so that he's able to do well. Those ones with drugs-related matter that make them to do bad things, that's what has to be taken to this psychiatric something for check-up for so that because there's no point of releasing them and they come and cause more harm in the society. No need. If those ones you know that they are no more useful in the society, and if you release them, they are going to cause more harm. There's no point of releasing them. Let them stay in the prison till the end of their life.
What about, sorry, Dr. Abubakar, what about those people, excuse me, what about those people who are just awaiting trial? They have not even been tried, and they've been there for years. They should just stay there.
Oh, well, I mean, that's why they have to take the judge to make his speedy. It's something. Actually, I quite agree with you. Delaying such people is not good. That's the fault of those prosecuting the cases. It's their fault. But actually,
thank you, Dr. Abubakar. Thank you so much. We're wrapping up. So
yes. So, like I was saying, I think that it's the government. The government needs to be more open to people for individual citizens that are passionate about supporting and helping, to be willing to help. We have many economists we bring here who say that who come up with different ideas that can bring solution, and they say they write letters to our ministers and they don't get any response. No leader knows all. The idea of good leadership is ability to gather every resource that you have and put them to good use. Yeah. So I want to believe that Minister Aregbesola has gathered a lot of resource and putting it to good use towards rheleleasing these 30 prisoners. I have 2 messages on YouTube I want to quickly read. Gudubit said, anyone awaiting trials for 15 to 20 years, if not a murderer, child abuser, rapist, should be released. If they freed, Emmanuel said, if they freed Boko Haram and terrorists and bandits, they should also free some of these prisoners out there. Yeah. Then Oladidi said, it appears it is those who have mastered the dark art of suspend, adjourn, nullify, that are, in quotes, he puts SAN. They are awarded honorary SAN title. Expect delays when they are involved.
Wow. So it is not in the hands of the Interior Minister to release prisoners. The law empowers states chief judges to visit, like I said earlier, review some cases, but they are not interested. Yeah. The new Correctional Service Act has provisions for non-custodial sentences for implementation by the judiciary. So those avenues of non-custodial sentences should also be... Yeah,
and I think that's what the minister is trying to achieve. I want to believe that he's systemic in his plans to ensure that these people are actually released, especially those ones who are still awaiting trial for very petty petty issues, petty thieving and all of that. So I wish him all the best, and I hope that he will get a lot of support from the state governments to do this. That's all we can take on this topic. Thank you, ladies. When we come back, we move on to our Let's Talk. Stay with us.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. Joining us much later is the spokesman for the House of Representatives, Honorable Benjamin Kalu. He will be speaking on the budget proposal presented by President Muhammadu Buhari before a joint session of the National Assembly on Friday. The spending proposal of 20.52 billion christened as a budget of fiscal consolidation and transition is unarguably the president's last budget. But joining us now is Mr. Tajuddin Akonde, the managing partner, PKF Professional Services, the president, Ikeja Business Club, a fellow of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, ICAN, a member, Chartered Taxation Institute of Nigeria, FCTI, and ALOS Institute of Directors. Welcome to the show, Mr. Tajuddin.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. So the president's budget has been making rounds on social media platforms, and everybody has been talking about it, and that's the reason we have you here today. Now, let me ask you, what do you make of this budget breakdown?
Thank you very much for that question. Of course, like most Nigerians, I listen attentively to the budget, especially this being the last budget of the present administration, and the fact that we are in transition to a new dispensation. When the country or any country is an election year, of course, economists, analysts, financial experts are very much interested in the direction of the economy. So the president has presented a budget of almost 20.2 trillion in terms of expenditure, and against a backdrop of revenue of 9.7 trillion. So the first thing is to look at the size of the revenue against the size of the expenditure, and you can see a gap of over 3 trillion. Of course, Nigeria has been running budget deficits in the last 3, 4, 5 years, and ordinarily, everybody is worried. Well, we need to situate this, in proper context, that in the life of this administration, we have experienced 2 economic depressions. On top of that, there was COVID-19 pandemic, which shut down the economy all over the world, which is resulting in economic hardship everywhere. And on top of that, too, there is the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war. Yeah. There may not be a direct impact of that, but there are spillover effects. So the totality of this is we are in a situation where one has to be worried that how do we finance a budget where the expenditure is over 200% of revenue. Over the last many years, people have been worried that the main problem of this economy is the fact that we are not generating enough revenue for the size of our economy.
Yeah.
I mean, our revenue to GDP is reported at about 8%, which is even the lowest in sub-Saharan Africa. The tax to GDP ratio is not better either. So the real problem, as the Minister of Finance alluded to during the joint session with the House of Assembly, is the fact that we are not having enough to sustain our expenditure. And when you look at the expenditure profile itself, we can see that personnel cost alone at 4.99 trillion is already half of the revenue. So capital expenditure of 5.35 trillion, so the entire revenue is already gone into that. On top of that, we have debt service of 6.3 trillion, which is over 30% of our revenue, our expenditure. So yes, one is to be worried, but to me, as an accountant, if you can either deal with your revenue or you control expenditure. If we are talking of expenditure that is personnel cost, pensions, gratuity, and other what you can call fixed overhead, then there's a limit to which that can be controlled further, except maybe in terms of reducing the size of government and all that. So the other way to look at it is how do we improve revenue generation, especially when statistics have shown that we are not earning enough at all. 8% revenue over our GDP is very low. We have set ourselves in the medium-term expenditure profile of 15% revenue to GDP. So how do we achieve that? Now, over many years, we have been an oil-dependent nation. When we look at the breakdown of 2021 budget and its performance,
are you there, sir?
I am there.
Okay.
Okay. So when you look at that, you will see that even oil that has been the mainstay of the economy, the revenue from oil is been declining. Of course, we want diversification, but where if you look at the president's budget presentation, the average production during the review period was at 1.3 million barrels per day, when our OPEC quota is 2.1, and we have done the budget on the basis of about 1.6 million barrels. About 2 days ago, I listened to news and I was shocked to hear that Nigeria has ceased to be the #1 oil producer in Africa. Angola has taken over.
Yeah.
These are things that cause worry, which means we now have to look at the non-oil revenue. Of course, the diversification we have been.
Yes.
In this budget, government is projecting 7.8 trillion from non-oil revenue, which is over 80% of the revenue expected. So how do we achieve that or surpass that? Because if we are earning 9 trillion and we are going to be servicing debt by 6 trillion, in fact, we need to surpass that and see what we can control from.
Thank you, Mr. Tagle.
These are my initial.
Yes, let me get some more questions.
That was a very extensive initial thought, sir. Very extensive. I am a trained financial coach. I help people build wealth. And one of the things that I realize about Nigeria's financial model, which you have addressed sort of, is that we are spending what we cannot earn. And
we can have what we are not earning for now.
Yes, what we are not earning for now. And while we have struggled in the past 4 years to try and increase earning, it's obvious that we haven't been able to master that. So we should have gone back to what can work first, which is to cut costs. I've shared that on some platforms, and they've said no. You cannot cut costs with the economic outlook we have right now. We need to spend our way out of this current crisis. Do you believe that? Do you believe that we should follow this model of spending our way out of crisis? Do you believe that we are spending on the right things and that this model can help us out of where we are financially as a country?
Okay. I think it cannot be a one-way approach. It has to be tackled from multi-dimension. In terms of expenditure, in a way, I agree that we cannot stop spending. Because, for instance, if we did not spend, the economy is likely to go back into depression. And that will create a lot more hardship. Now, what do? I think what we should do, basically, without foreclosing the need to control expenditure further, especially in terms of non-productive expenditure. But in terms of infrastructure spending, of course, there is still a lot more begging for attention in the area of infrastructure, which could trigger economic growth, create employment, increase production, and all that. On the revenue side, the fact that we are not earning enough is not because maybe this economy is not generating income. It is because of wastages and leakages. So the first thing we need to do and prioritize is how do we block these leakages? How do we close the door and the tap of wastages? Take the example of Lagos State, which has been repeated over time and is almost becoming boring. There was a time it was 600 million, per month in terms of IGR. And today we are talking of 20 billion per month. What happened substantially was that the leakages were significantly blocked. Lagos has been able to deploy technology and other, financial, fiscal policies to block those holes.
Thank you.
They cannot increase taxation because the personal income tax which states are earning and VAT is a matter for federal government to legislate on. So you will see that it's not about just increasing taxes and all that. But the first thing, let us try to block those leakages. Bring all the revenue into one basket.
Okay.
Let's stop the multiplicity of revenue collection agencies where everything may not end up in the federation accounts. We need to harmonize tax collection, streamline, administration of taxes.
All right, sir. Let's take a short break. When we come back, we continue this conversation. Stay with us.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Welcome back. So Anima had a question.
Yes, I wanted to talk about, what we can do. You've been talking about how we must cut down costs. But in this year's budget alone, about 190-something billion is budgeted for the National Assembly infrastructure alone. How seriously must we look at, checking this? How important is running the National Assembly that we have to budget such an amount of money? Also, we have the budget servicing, which you cannot escape. That is gulping over 6 trillion. About 6 trillion of the budget this year, next year. So what can we do? How serious must we be about this?
Mr. Tajuddin, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
Well, in terms of streamlining expenditure, of course, we cannot say it louder that the leadership, the political actors must demonstrate leadership by example by looking at cutting down costs of running government. The populace are shouting that since there is a lot of hardship, and the best way for an effective and efficient leader to do is to demonstrate that this hardship is not being borne by the citizen alone, that they are also sharing in the burden. So it's to do a self-examination and see what sacrifices they can also make. Let me put it like that. So that, because we are running government for the people, and whatever you are doing must have you must carry the people along. One of the major problems of the economy, even which is impacting on the revenue, is the gap in trust. So the first thing is you must build people's trust by demonstrating that you feel the pain that we are also feeling. Now, in terms of debt service, debt on its own ordinarily is not such a bad thing. But for it not to be a bad thing, you must be spending borrowed money on infrastructure that has the ability, the potential to expand the economy in terms of production, creating jobs. In that case, the additional income generated to corporate bodies in terms of salaries on which individuals will pay tax, in terms of boosting economic activities, will eventually pay for that. If you are borrowing for consumption, then that is a recipe for disaster. Because how do you pay back if you've taken the money and you spend it? So while we are trying to sustain the economy by borrowing, we must know the limit of what we can do. It is very easy for economic managers to fall into the trap of statistics. Today, our borrowing, according to government, is about 40% of GDP, and the benchmark is 55%. But we must realize that GDP will not pay that money back. It is your revenue that will pay the money back. So we cannot just look at statistics in isolation. We need to look at our capacity to pay. For me as an accountant, I'll say, how much am I earning? If I'm borrowing, how much do I need to service this debt? So we need to more or less find a way to curtail it. Like I've said, the economic managers, I want to believe that they are responsible. And because of pressure to deliver the dividend of democracy, they may be constrained to say, okay, there is a limit to which we can cut this expenditure. And I keep saying, in that case, let's hand more money. Let's save from wherever we can save. And whatever we are constrained to borrow, let's be able to trace it into productive activity, in which case we know that the pain today will be compensated for in the nearest future.
Okay, Mr. Tajuddin, on a lighter note, I hope you're not stingy, because when we hear accountants, we just hear people who are not able to release money.
well, that is the label for we accountants, for which I'm very proud to wear.
Yeah. But I have a question. I have a question, sir.
What people call stinginess is actually prudence.
I agree with you, sir.
Thank you. Accountant is such a professional that will not spend for the sake of spending. It will reflect whether it is actually justifiable
or not. But I have a question.
There's a difference between you needing something and you want something. And I can't go into that economic realm of do I really need it.
I agree with you, sir. So, back to the matter at hand. We've had cases where the CBN is not able to release Forex to business people. We took a part of that in the newspaper review this morning. And businesses are crumbling and making things very expensive because they have to buy the Forex from the local black market, and they are not able to make things cheaper for us. In your analogy on how we can, start producing more so that we do not depend on just the oil, you talked about diversification. How do you think the government can make or give businesses a conducive environment to flourish? Because I believe Nigerians are able to take themselves out of this poverty.
Yes, that is another side of the problem of revenue shortage. Revenue shortage in terms of Forex earning. Okay. Our almost 80–90% of our Forex earning had been from oil export. Oil is the only thing we virtually export in this country. Now, we are not even able to produce enough to export. And we are hearing almost 30–40% of what is being produced is being stolen. I mean, embarrassingly. Now, to solve that problem, we also need to increase our revenue inflow in terms of dollars. So we need to pay attention, deliberate policy to encourage production for exports. There is no shortcut to it. The diaspora remittances is reducing because even Nigerians in diaspora, the talents we are losing abroad, which the payback for us should have been the home remittances which popularized Western Union in those days. Because of the lack of trust and confidence in the economy, are also not even remitting enough. We are losing talent in the jackpot syndrome, and we are not getting the payback, even though that will not cover for it. The real solution to that, in my own view, is to make deliberate policy to encourage export. We need to also attach to that is to educate our people and also make policies to discourage substantial import consumption. Virtually everything we consume is being imported. Even things as simple, as easy as biscuit. The elites, if the biscuit is produced here, they don't want it. Everyone wants imported biscuit. What is in biscuit? Flour, butter, sugar that we cannot produce and consume.
We like sweet things.
We must go back to national orientation where the populace is educated to let us consume what we produce. We reduce importation, we increase export. That, to my mind, is the way out.
Who's ready?
So your last comments are very, very important. But they say leadership starts from the head. And even though there are some people that postulate that you can lead from.
So, let me pause you here. We have the House of Representatives, Honorable Benjamin Kalu. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Okay, good morning. Good morning. So I would like to ask your initial thoughts on the budget that has been passed by the president. I'm sure you've seen the breakdown. What do you make of it?
Thank you very much. Let me use this opportunity once again to mention that we are impressed with the way the executive and the legislature have gone about maintaining this budget calendar to run according to the mandate of the Constitution, January to December, which was not there before now. It helps us to do the right economic projection, both in the private sector and the public sector. And you know, when budgets are delayed, the impact of it on our economy is huge. So we have been able to save that through less acrimony and rancor between these arms of government, understanding the principle that though we are three arms of government, we are one government with one objective in mind, which is nation building. Yeah, talking about the budget as it is at the moment, my reaction is that it's a good one on the face of it, but I will not be here defending the executive who told that the president has passed the ball to us, but not completely so, because the heads of the MDAs are also supposed to come and justify the numbers to enable us know whether the I's are dottable and the T's are crossable by the time we listen to the budget presentation. So we will be looking out for the parameters that we also recommended when the MTEF was brought to us, and we did our analyses, and we chose certain parameters in view of our needs analyses locally and also global realities. So our view will be, or our take will be, this budget, does it reflect the needs of our people?
Okay.
Is it realistic? You know, and then we'll take it up from there. They have made some proposals, like informing us that oil production at 1.69 million barrels per day, we agree with them for 2023. We also agree with them that the benchmark that they are looking at $70 per barrel is a little bit doubtful to us, considering what is happening in Russia and Ukraine. We believe that the market forces will push the price of oil up. So we are pegging it at $73 per barrel, which will help us achieve about 155 billion that we will now intend to push to reduction of the budget deficit.
Okay,
but
Honorable.
We are accepting that 3.75% on the GDP growth projection is also not a wrong call, and 17.16% on the inflation is not a wrong call. We also accepted that the 11.3 trillion is on the high side. An effort must be made to see how we can bring it down.
Okay, Honorable Kalu, let's take a short break. When we come back, we'll continue this conversation. Stay with us.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. Tokwe had a question for the Honorable.
Okay. Yes, Honorable Benjamin Kalu. I was going to ask this question earlier, but I think you're the perfect person to ask. Our economic experts had spoken concerning the importance of becoming more patriotic in our consumption as a nation. You know, increasing, Nigerians must buy Nigeria. We should reduce our appetite for foreign goods. And that is the right direction, because a lot of our Forex is going into things that it shouldn't be going into, while the critical industry like manufacturing is suffering. But my position is it must start from the head. What are the prices, what are the cuts you think the National Assembly needs to make? What sacrifice would you pose that within your immediate community as leaders must make to now build the spirit of patriotism, where all Nigerians would know that we will eat our rice with stone, we will not eat imported rice, because we are seeing our leaders also displaying that level of patriotism by only consuming what is being produced in Nigeria to reduce the burden of importing food and luxury items in here.
I totally agree with you, and I have said it in previous interviews that this budget must be adapted to reflect our needs. And one of those needs is that we need to keep our money here. We don't need to send our money out. So the much we keep locally, the more it will help to grow our economy. Therefore, our eyes, we're going to wear, our spectacles when we are looking at the budget. And what we'll be looking at for will be those things that has the local content element in them. We are going as a house. We are fighting to broaden the scope of the local content that is mainly on oil and gas, space. We are trying to make it go round the entire sector of the economy. So in this budget, we're going to be looking at the things that are supposed to be from Nigeria. They should come from Nigeria, and also the effort that is being made by various relevant agencies or ministries or departments on stimulating our economy by reviving our industry. So the trade and industry, we're going to be looking at their budget to see if there are steps taken through the budget that will, stimulate these moribund establishments that are there, which will end up reducing the unemployment rate, which will end up increasing the value of our currency, and the benefits cannot be overemphasized. So this is one of the things we'll be doing when we wear our cap as the people with the power of the purse. They must convince us that this budget, in implementing it, our economy will be stimulated.
Nima.
Okay, sir. Honorable, you projected price of oil per barrel in this budget is what concerns me, considering that NUPENG, Pengasen, and a lot of other agencies are coming out to talk about the stealing of oil in the Niger Delta, and we not being able to meet our OPEC quota. What exactly are the plans that made arrive? What factors did you consider to arrive at this projected cost of oil per barrel, and how do you, as a house, plan to assist government to meet the OPEC quota so we can actually be earning?
Yes, like I mentioned, this budget, I mentioned previously in other interviews, this budget is a draft document. It's a proposal from the executive. But we have the power to make this law, and we have the power of the purse. So when it comes, like I mentioned during my introductory statement, we will check to know where to cross the T's and where to dot the I's. The issue of price per barrel, which they presented to us through the MTEP at $70 per barrel. We believe that it should be better than that. It should be better than that, considering the global scenario, what is happening with oil price around the world. It is on the increase, it's not on the decrease, because of the impact of the war from Russia and Ukraine. And we said, instead of projecting at $70 per barrel, it is better to do 73. And that was a conservative proposal for the increase from 70 to 73. And we believe that the more we can get out of our oil, considering the less that we are producing, to produce 1.69 million barrels per day is not good for us. It's not what we ought to be doing beyond that. But since we have less, and the current global market is saying oil is needed and the price should be more, let's go for 73. And with the 115 that we'll get, we'll push it to reduce our exposure of 11.3 trillion. So the step that we are taking is, ad hoc committees have been set up to look at this stealing of oil, what is happening about it. They are busy working. We're engaging with NNPC. NNPC Limited is taking steps towards that direction. We invited the Minister of Finance. We are all putting heads together to see that we stop this oil theft. Another one that is very important is the oil subsidy, because most time, they say exchange of oil. We'll give you oil, you give us a refined product, and all the rest of that. Sometimes the quantity that is leaving the country, we need to understand, is it 500,000 barrels that is actually leaving, or is it 1 million and declared at 500,000? So we have done some investigation with Navy. Last week I was in that trip, and we found out that Navy is not posted at the loading point of this product, and so they only work with the manifest that is transmitted to them. So we are now going to present to the House that it is important that Navy is at the loading point, so that we know it is 1 million that we are sending, or 500 that we are sending out of the loading zone, so that we know where is this money, where is this oil leaking from. And 88, 89 of the Constitution said it is our responsibility to find out where the leakages is coming from. With regards to government revenue. So talking about oil,
find out in
House
sincerity,
is doing something
sir.
about that.
Yes, sir. So let's get a question in for Mr. Akonde.
So, sir, I want to come back to you. We are still a very oil-dependent economy, and I know that we've been paying lip service to saying we want to increase other products, agriculture, refining agricultural products. Based on your own analysis of the current budget that was just presented to the National Assembly, are we funding these other industries appropriately? Or in your own calculation, are we just doing talk shop, or is the money following where you believe it should be going, sir?
Thank you very much. I think we cannot advocate too much the fact that we need to put policies and funds to encourage the real sector where production can actually take place. You see, we have to, with all the things we will do or we are doing to block the leakage in oil and all that, we cannot continue to depend on oil. All over the world, at the moment, there is energy crisis. What the Russia-Ukraine war has revealed is that, you see, the entire European nation and outside cannot continue to depend on oil. They are already thinking of alternative energy sources, renewable energy and all that. So we will be deceiving ourselves if we sit down and think we can benefit from the crisis. Yeah, that may be in the short run, but within the next 3 to 5 years, the demand for oil itself is going to go down substantially. So this is the time for policymakers to begin to think of how the economy can be less dependent on oil, right? And if you look at countries that have sustained economic, volatility, they are countries that are basically based on production. Look at China. Everybody produces in China today and bring it back to their market to sell. The crisis all over the world in terms of even having goods on the shelf was because the lockdown and the COVID restriction in China curtailed production. So it is production. First, we must produce food enough for us to eat, food security. We must produce other items that we need. I mean, we have limestone, cement production has increased, and you can see the kind of road they are constructing now from the infrastructure tax credit. Other than, just put bitumen on the road and all that. If you see the Apapa Ojota Express Road, see the way it was, the casting was done. We have iron ore, the Ajakuta and all that since 1980, 81. Why can't we support automobile industry and other industries that need? The problem with the housing sector today is because most of the iron rod and all that you use for construction is
Thank you, sir. Because of time, we need to get in a few more questions.
Yes, for him, I have a question, sir.
Go ahead.
This issue of us, turning away from oil, how can we cash in on this Russia-Ukraine issue? Presently, the French Prime Minister is visiting Algeria for a gas deal. How can Nigeria, with what God has blessed us, how can we cash in?
When you stop oil bunkering.
With what is happening around the world, how can we make...
We begin to talk with those who are suffering from the supply disruption. We need to go into negotiation and discussion with them. But you see, it will not happen overnight because we don't have the pipeline to send oil to Germany or to...
Shouldn't we be looking into that?
But yes, when you look at, if you follow the news, with all the sanctions on Russia, what is happening? They begin to think of a different financial model where you're moving away from dollar and liaising with China to do some other things. So I believe the Ministry of Petroleum, the Ministry of Finance, and our, honorable members will come together and begin to talk to those who are suffering from this and say, okay, what can we give you? There was a time Russia was selling oil to India and China at 30% discount. And they are not losing revenue because the volume that is being purchased from them increased by more than 30%. So there is a compensation, and at the end of the day, there is higher revenue.
Thank you so
much,
Mr. Tajuddin. Yes, let me quickly ask a question to the Honorable Benjamin Kalu. So 100 billion has been budgeted for constituency projects based on the results achieved so far on previous budgets. Do you think this money is justified? One, is there a plan to quiz these constituency projects in the past to ensure that the money used for it was used properly for those projects?
The 100 billion is not even sufficient. People are afraid to say it. Yeah, I say that. Yes. And I like that exclamation from you. But if you come from the rural areas where some of us come from, that has not, known the impact of dividends of democracy from the federal government, and the states don't have enough resources to be able to cater for all the needs of these rural areas, you will understand the impact of constituency projects. It is helping democracy to thrive. It is helping the government to look good. The presence of President Buhari in the federal constituency where I come from wouldn't have been felt if I didn't go to the House of Representatives and if he didn't approve my constituency projects and other federal government projects that I lobbied to bring to my constituency. So, answering your question, yes, and I want to thank President Buhari because his administration made sure that the members of the parliament got almost 100% of the funding of those constituency projects. And our people are celebrating, and that is the truth. They are celebrating, and we want to encourage the coming government to also look at ensuring that the benefit achieved through constituency projects so far, that it will be sustainable and it will be enlarged. I like the aspect that Mr. President said that this budget is not going to be looking at new projects, it's looking at sustaining what they have put in place. And I think the House is going to buy into that to make sure that in the national development agenda or policy of the nation, it will not be start a project, abandon it, start a new one, that the ones that this administration started will have a continuum with this budget, and then the new government can start from there. And then whether or not they have been verified. Yep.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Tajuddin Akonde, for joining us on the show today, and Honorable Benjamin Kalu for joining us on the show today. We have to go,
I appreciate them for the work they are doing so far.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you for
much.
having me. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. We really appreciate. Now, this budget issue, I believe, will still continue. It's going to be an ongoing conversation. They've not debated it. We still have more questions that we would ask.
Reduce or increase it.
Increase or reduce, and try as much as possible to cut the cost of governance. That's all we can take on the show today. Thank you so much, ladies. We'll see you again tomorrow. Have a lovely day.